All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming in this kind of off time to learn about insurance for your fitness business. My name is Ellen. You guys know me, but for the purposes of the playback, my name is Ellen, and I'm the creator of the Warrior program. So we have Warrior Rhythm, which is like the Rebel Yoga program. We have Warrior Strength, which is cardio hit training and also metabolic conditioning. We have a few other things in the Warrior Academy, like content for spinning instructors, just rides that are available. And then we have a Warrior's Guide to Teaching Online. So that's just a standalone mini course for anyone, anywhere, any fitness professional that wants to learn how to level up virtually. And we have partnered with Insure Fitness Group, which is really exciting. And that's why we're here today, to learn more about them and their offerings and the value of their services. And so this recording will be kind of nestled in those sections of the Warrior courses where we offer our benefit, which is a discounted rate with Insure. So again, my name is Ellen, and that's just pretty much all I'm going to say today. Well, I guess I'll say that in 2012, I decided I wanted to start teaching in a park. And so that's when I decided I needed to cover myself and protect myself, because it's a crazy world. And, the park had not only goose poop in it, but lots of like divots. And, I was like, what if someone rolls their ankle and then comes after me? I wanted to open it up to the whole wide world. I wanted to make a Facebook page in my area that was public for all to come. And so that's when I started getting liability insurance. I've had it ever since. And I didn't have it as with such a good rate as we're now able to provide for you guys. So I feel like this is such a good little gift that we get to provide the Warrior community. So I guess that's all I need to say today. I'm going to hand it over to these guys. So Joe, do you want to take it?
Sure. Thank you. And I'm really glad, by the way, you brought up goose poop. I don't think many fitness instructors, personal trainers understand the risk associated with goose poop. And I think it's important that we recognize that. So I'm glad you brought that up. No, first off, well, let me just say, I'm Joe Fagan. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships for Insure Fitness Group. And I just want to start off by saying thank you to Ellen DeWord. Thank you for allowing us to partner with such an amazing brands of Warrior Rhythm, Warrior Strength, and, to align with such, just wonderful programs. This is the exact type of partnerships we look for and look to curate. So we just really appreciate this opportunity. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about our program in general, but also really just the things you want to look at, fitness instructors want to look at, the questions they want to ask when they're looking to enroll in insurance, and maybe the differences between certain components, some important things to look for. And I'll also kind of tell you some of the things that we've done to really separate, our program from others. But of course, I always recommend anytime you're making a decision, whether it's insurance, any business decision, vet all the opportunities you can, ask all of the questions. We believe, and we know our product stands on its own. So we highly recommend look at all of them, come back to us, take a look at ours, see how they compare. And, if another option is better in your mind, then some things just have a more customized fit, but we put a lot of value into our program. So we believe it stands on its own. So a little bit about Insure Fitness Group. So Insure Fitness Group is a division of Arthur J. Gallagher, who is a leading global insurance broker, which is interesting because we were just acquired by Arthur J. Gallagher right before the pandemic. Prior to that, we were really a small, less than 50-person S Corp for the last 30 years. So we recently were acquired by a very large insurance broker, which has done amazing things for us personally, but even more importantly, they've added a tremendous amount of value to our program, which we now offer to our customers, which has just been a win-win, and I'll go in some of those pieces as well. But at Insure Fitness Group in general, we're committed to enabling our community of fitness industry and professionals to train safely and confidently. And the way we do that is we offer membership programs that are inclusive of liability insurance. They also include employee benefits, resources, and they cover several disciplines within the health and wellness field. And while liability insurance is the core of what we offer, we've added so much value to our offering, and it's really been in an effort to kind of turn our offering into a pseudo business in a box. And I'll go through some of the components that explain why I call it that. And so, but I'll kind of start off, I'll give you an overview of the things that a fitness professional will need to consider when purchasing insurance, just to ensure that you're fully protected at all times. So I hope that's okay with everybody. By the way, I'm not, I know we're probably going to get more views on this in the recording space, but if there aren't any questions in real time today, feel free to throw them in the chat, throw them in the Q&A. I'll do my best to answer them as we go along, or even try to save some time at the end. And anything that doesn't get answered, we can always send as a post webinar communication, or I'll give you my contact information. You can reach out to me. We're open book, so please ask the questions. Pardon me. All right. So as a fitness professional, you need to consider several types of insurance just to make sure you're fully protected. So the first one, the most important one, we'd say, is the professional liability insurance, also known as malpractice insurance. So professional liability is insurance that provides protection against lawsuits claiming negligence, misconduct, or incompetence on the policyholder's behalf. So if you're instructing somebody and they injure themselves, that would fall under professional liability. And then the other main component is general liability. So general liability insurance protects the policyholder that in the event that a client like trips or falls, suffers an injury while on their property. And this coverage applies to claims resulting from personal or bodily injury or damage to others' properties. And it's often called trip and fall insurance. One interesting thing, and I think this is important, is we get a lot more claims for general liability than we do professional liability. And I find that somewhat comforting. And the reason I find that comforting is that means that our instructors are trained well. They're not injuring people through their instruction or through their negligence, but it's sometimes very hard to foresee that freak accident, which typically falls under general liability. So in a way, there's something, in my opinion, comforting about the fact that we get a lot more general liability than professional liability claims. Another component to look out for, and that does come with our program, is rental damage insurance. As a fitness instructor, sometimes you find yourself renting space, maybe even, or renting a studio, whatever it may be. So our program just already includes $100,000 of rental damage insurance. And if you go to sign a lease, most leases will require you carry that. So that's one component you may want to look out for when you're looking for insurance. A couple other components that are somewhat unique to ours, maybe not completely unique, at least this first one, but we find very important to our audience, is equipment coverage. So our program includes $1,000 of stolen and or damaged equipment insurance. And that can include a laptop, an iPad, or any tools used within your scope of practice. That happens to be, interestingly enough, like one of the most expensive components of insurance. So the fact that we were able to include it and still keep that low cost is fairly meaningful, because normally you go to a local agent, you get that, and it's a high loss ratio for an insurance company, so they tend to charge high premiums for that. And then the final component, this one really is unique to us, that we found very important, is ID theft. ID theft comes with all of our programs. And of course, identity theft covers you in the event that your identity is stolen. And as we have all moved our businesses more and more online, we become more and more susceptible to cyber attacks. So protection of your coveted information is certainly recommended, especially as we move more and more online. And we do get quite a few claims for that. We find that people, once they get certified or once they get licensed in the discipline that they're serving or that they're practicing, that they become now susceptible to cyber attacks. So we find that's important. All right, now to get into, and this is the one, this one is going to really sound like insurance speak, but it's a very, very important component that I just want to mention, and I just want to kind of get this out of the way. And that is, one big thing to look for when you're considering buying insurance as a fitness professional is what's called occurrence form versus claims made. And I'm going to do my best to explain that in the easiest way possible, but it is an extraordinarily important component of insurance. So occurrence form versus claims made. For both professional and general liability, you need to evaluate which type of policy your provider has in the event that a claim is made. So an occurrence form policy is the type of policy we have, and that's what we recommend. So this type of policy, an occurrence form policy, covers you for any claim filed during your policy period and after the policy expires, as long as the incident took place while the policy was active. And I'll try to give an example here. So for example, if you're insured, let's say from January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2021, and an accident occurs, let's say in October of 2021, but that claim isn't filed until March of 2021 after your policy expired, an occurrence form policy still covers you even though your insurance expired when the claim was filed. And I'll tell you in just a second why that's super important. A claims made policy, on the other hand, must be active when the claim is reported in order to trigger coverage. Any claim filed after a claims made policy expired will not be covered. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal, right? Like most claims you expect to come in during the policy period, and that's true. But we did an audit, and in 2017, 36% of the money we paid out in claims would not have been paid by a claims made policy. So when the first question you ask when you call any insurance company is, are you occurrence firm versus claims made? Claims made cheaper. I'll just be completely honest. We elected not to increase our margins by going for a claims made policy. We reduced our margins because we wanted our policy to be what's considered the most effective and useful in the industry. We are known as the company that pays all the claims, and that's what we want to be. Insurance is one of those things. People are always sketchy about insurance. Number one, you're buying something you hope you never use, which is just, it's still weird psychologically. And then secondly, people are concerned that when they really do need insurance, now they're going to be in a dogfight with the insurance company on whether it's going to be covered or not. And we wanted to, we have gone to great lengths to find underwriters where we try to get rid of all of that mess. In fact, I can stand on this thing saying the only time we've ever denied a claim is when somebody lied on their application. So that's a big no-no. Definitely don't do that. Do not lie on your application. It's important. Another thing to consider is your styles and your health and wellness modalities. So of course, some wellness professionals provide many different types of services and classes. So you might be a fitness instructor and a yoga instructor. You might be you might even look into ancillary disciplines like massage and such. So you might want to consider your variety of class types. For example, if you're teaching both, let's say you're a yoga instructor, you're teaching a vinyasa and restorative yoga classes. You want to make sure that you're covered for both, or group fitness and or personal training, whatever it might be. Another consideration is if you're performing any additional healing practice. So if you also would want to make sure you're covered if you're doing things such as meditation, mindfulness, sound healing, Reiki. I mean, there's several different modalities. And by the way, our program covers all of those. And it's just a great question to ask because some companies within our space do cover these kind of ancillary modalities because we realize there's a lot of crossover in that field. And that kind of just moves into the additional disciplines. You may want to consider coverage for additional disciplines. In addition to your fitness business, you may want to expand your services into massage or yoga or beauty. Many programs cover all of those like ours does. So that's, just kind of a neat thing. And then and I think this is a very important topic to this group and in general in the fitness space right now, is online coverage. So in the current state of the pandemic, teaching and practicing online has become, as you know, necessary for many of our fellow fitness brothers and sisters. And of course, they've needed to move their business online just to maintain or even sometimes grow their business, which is an interesting thing happening during the pandemic now. People are finding these massive revenue opportunities by moving their business online. So the question is, make sure your insurance provider covers you for both live streaming and pre-recorded video. So our program, for instance, always covered live face-to-face interactions. We always covered live online training. So we were kind of ahead of the game there. As a response to the pandemic, our underwriters allowed us to add coverage for pre-recorded videos at no additional cost to our program. So that's been great for us. And the cool thing is about the way they did it with our program is they didn't add any of these restrictions, which you see in most other policies, which are whether it's you have to have it a private video, you have to have a tracked link, certain things like that. Our program comes with no restrictions. So it really gives you the freedom to put your information out there and not be worried about a lawsuit. And lastly, I do want to mention this because I think this is an important component, especially coming out of a pandemic, is coverage for communicable diseases. I want to mention that most policies in our space do not cover you for the transmission of communicable diseases, such as COVID-19. So to ensure you're protected against this, you're going to want to make sure you have a properly drafted waiver that includes language to release you from liability resulting from the transmission of communicable diseases. Now, of course, that's when we're back in the face-to-face doing training there, but I know that that's a lot of people are concerned about what that looks like coming out of this. If somebody happens to catch COVID, am I going to be sued? Well, the answer is it's very hard to contact trace in a pandemic like this. So it's typically not a lawsuit that's going to go through, but that is just typical. That doesn't mean every single time. So it's just highly, highly recommended that you have a strong waiver of liability. So really just to kind of sum that up and to kind of start talking a little bit about how we differ, how our program somewhat differs from others. So just as a summary, our membership packages provide liability insurance, business and marketing tools and resources, as well as member benefits and industry discounts for all fitness professionals. Also, and this is kind of where the employee benefit packages come in, our programs provide access to low-cost dental, like group rates on dental insurance, vision insurance, telemedicine, concierge service to help you find low-cost health insurance options through the ACA. And since, of course, we're seeing more and more fitness instructors move their business online, just want to reiterate that our program covers, of course, not only face-to-face, but live online classes and pre-recorded videos. So all, again, what I consider very important components to make sure as you're, as you're enrolling in or looking into different insurance options, ask those questions and see if they have those. Does that all make sense so far? Great. Oh, I do see a couple of questions that come in. If that's okay, I'll jump on those. Jill, it looks like you're trying to talk, but you're on mute. Jill Hope. No? Okay, sorry. I thought you were trying to talk. My apologies. And hi, Jill. I know you and I had Facebook messaged a couple of times. Nice to see you face to face there. When would that not be valid? In other words, how long do they have? So Francie, I think your question was about how long of a period do they have to be able to file the claim? So typically in occurrence form policies, there's no limit. Some of them have a 2-year limit, so 2 years after the policy expires. So you would just want to make sure. So it's usually either a no limit or 2 years. And then what about nutrition coach? I'm glad you asked that, Francie. So we have, it's funny because of course that's such an important piece in the fitness space. And up till very recently, we didn't have coverage as a nutrition for nutrition coaches. But we did. We just started adding that. We just added that. We now have coverage for that. I do want to be very palms up here though. This is brand new to us. We just added this offering within the last couple of weeks. How it tiers down from our fitness. Do you need to buy a nutrition policy and that covers you as fitness, or do you need to buy a fitness policy which covers you as nutrition? I'm so sorry I don't have that information on this call, but I will follow up with that information post haste because again, sorry, it's somewhat very, very new to us. Excellent. All right. Well, that looks like for the most part the questions that have come in. And not, I don't want to go on a long tirade here, but I just want to give a little bit further information on some of the things that we've done to kind of separate us from the other folks. We've been in the health and wellness space for a little over 30 years. We own Massage Magazine, we own Chiropractic Economics Magazine. So we've been very dialed into kind of the health and wellness industry for a long time. And it was about 2008, 2009 when we saw a very underserved market offering liability insurance directly to the health and wellness practitioners. And it's been really in that time over the last 10 years that we have taken all this time to curate this program. And it's all been through surveys of our customers, surveys of the different industry professionals to find out what is so important. What do you need? What's your buying? What are your buying motivators? And we've taken all that information and built a program that we now really kind of sell or look at as a business in a box. We go to great lengths to provide value to our clients to ensure that, number one, they're successful, and hopefully they can stay in the industry for as long as possible. So in that vein, we partner with companies to offer, to negotiate discounts on important products and services that you might need to offer, whether it's continuing education classes, advanced trainings, tools, software, all those things. So when you enroll into our program, you gain immediate access to all these wonderful discounts that really help you set your business up. We through our own services, our own internal team, and through contracting and working with other professionals, write series of content to help fitness professionals succeed in business. Whether that's building an LLC, moving your business online, as Ellen has a wonderful course about as well, or training in different modalities, or filing your taxes, or social media marketing, all of those things. Here's what we've noticed: fitness professionals sometimes are excellent fitness professionals, but might need a little bit of help on the back end, on the business side of things. So we do our best to kind of provide that help either through partnership or through content. And then really kind of lastly, the acquisition by Arthur J. Gallagher. When Arthur J. Gallagher acquired us right before the pandemic, which by the way, thank goodness they acquired us right before a pandemic. I can't tell you how thankfully I have a job, I think, because of that. But more importantly, they were able to give us immediate access to a slew of member benefits that would have taken us years to negotiate, like high-level discounts from like Office Depot, things that are just very important for industry professionals. But even more importantly, they took our economic scale and were able to build out these low-cost options for dental, vision, telemedicine, and such. So had we never been acquired by Arthur J. Gallagher, we probably wouldn't have those components, but we were. And so now we are, the interesting thing is, people in our industry, as you guys know, a lot of times, if you don't go to work for a major employer, you may not, it's really sometimes hard to find access to these health, dental, vision, these components that you would get, these benefits you get from a major employer. So we've really looked at all that and built those value pieces into our program. So we encourage anybody to call us, look at us, compare us to the other folks. Again, we also encourage everybody as well to give us feedback on additional components that might be needed. Is there something else that is there a partnership we could form to negotiate on your behalf? Give us that feedback. We love getting pats on the back, but it's much more important when we hear some way that we can improve. So please give us that feedback. And then, since I see from Jill Hope, it said, if you haven't already, can you cover your policies only be valid for people in the United States? Thank you, Jill. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yes. So our coverage is for the U.S. Most liability policies is in the space there. It's interesting about liability policies is they're typically bound by a country code. As I understand, and I'll be just completely palms up about this, there are certain companies that you can either get either an add-on, an endorsement that allow your coverage to work globally. We are currently working with our underwriters to try to get that added to our program. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. I don't know if and when that will happen. We're working on it, but definitely thank you, Jill, for mentioning that. Our program, I do want to mention, is for U.S.-based folks. If you need coverage somewhere else, we may have somebody that we can recommend to you, like in Canada, even possibly UK or different areas, but our coverage is U.S.-based. And one last kind of thing I do want to mention here is that because of this wonderful partnership we have with Ellen, not only will she's able to offer an ongoing global discount to anybody who she's networked with through her wonderful brand of Warrior Strength and Warrior Rhythm. So our program, which is normally $179 a year, she will always offer it at a discounted rate of $159 a year. And right now, because of this webinar and through this weekend, we have that same link will actually give you an extra $10 off to bring it down to only $149. By the way, that link is insurefitness.com/warrior, right? Isn't that what it is, Caitlin and Ellen? It's /warrior, right?
Yeah, it's also now in all the different courses in the academy. So you can basically find a lecture course in each one of whether the Warrior Rhythm Instructor Training or Membership, Warrior Strength Instructor Training or Membership, or the Warrior's Guide to Teaching Online. 5 places you'll find a lecture that now says Insure Fitness Group, and it links to that page.
Fantastic. I do see another question here as well from Francie, so I want to make sure I go through all of these here. So Francie wrote, one more question. Based on everything that you said, my Onpodio waiver has to be acknowledged every time they sign up for my classes. How do I know that it covers what Insure requires for a waiver? I know that Onpodio would be willing to adjust if we ask. Cal kind of likes us. And by the way, I love Cal as well. We have a wonderful partnership with Cal. He's just a great dude. I totally agree. So Francie, our program doesn't require waivers. We highly recommend it, but we do not require it. And I say that because some insurance companies will require that you use a waiver to be able to use their services. That's not the case with us. Maybe we should, but the reason we don't is because we aren't legally tied to a waiver. And endorsing a specific waiver, requiring a specific waiver in our mind kind of states that, well, we legally endorse that waiver, and that waiver should be your viable protection. Anyway, bottom line, we recommend it. We don't require it. So one thing I will mention, and we've partnered with this company called Conscious Counsel out of Canada, and they're really a yoga-based law firm. He wrote the yoga law book, but he's a fitness instructor and yoga instructor, and he really does legal consulting in the industries we work in. And so we've done a couple of webinars with him, and he's provided us some killer information. A couple of things I've gotten out of that dialogue is that if you have a waiver, whether it's a template you've downloaded from Onpodio or from us, we have a template on our site as well. Highly recommend, number one, that you customize it to your business completely. You're talking about the risks, you're talking about the outcomes, you're making sure that they're signing that, they know of those risks and outcomes. But more importantly, we always recommend also running that by legal counsel if you're able to do so. If you have local legal counsel, run that waiver by them, get their stamp of approval. It's just a smart thing to do if you're able to. And by the way, the company Conscious Counsel that we partner with, they do offer discounts on things like that. So if anybody's interested in getting those services or running things by them, they we have a discounted link to get that work done. You're welcome to chat with them. I'm just going up through this chat, making sure I haven't missed any other questions. And the dog's back in. Would that not be valid? Thank you. All right, I think that's it. Ellen or Kate, are you seeing any questions that I've missed?
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, please.
A comment first. I did link to that waiver that you guys recommend, that you guys have. I have that linked also in the sections in our courses too. So you guys can look at their kind of waiver template. But is it true, or is this like a misnomer, that waivers are kind of just as good as a piece of paper without the actual like insurance behind it? Or is that not really true? And sorry, I guess it's a couple questions. Please. And then the way I have it set up, unlike I think the way Francie is doing it, is they sign a waiver once before, like one and done, like one waiver for participation. They don't have to sign it every time they take a class. And sorry, there's like 4 points to my question. My attorney did have me add some language, Francie, to my waiver that was specific to redistribution, like not forbidding them from redistributing, sorry, the workout. So that was one. And then there were 2 clauses that he had me add, and that was one, and I'll try to think of the other. But go ahead, Joe. Sorry. So my questions were, is a waiver just as good as a piece of paper if you're not insured? And do they have to sign it forever, or is it one time good enough?
Gotcha. Those are good questions. And I don't know if I'm going to have a solid answer on number 2. I think it might be a little bit how you have the language in your waiver designed. Boy, that's when I really wish I had Corey from Conscious Counsel standing next to me, because he's able to eloquently dial off that information, because he's so dialed into the into that. But I mean, as far as safety and comfort's concerned, I see no downside to having somebody sign a waiver every time they enroll into a class. But if you have them sign something saying that for class period from here to here is all part of this waiver, then I imagine that would work. But that might be another question that I would run by your lawyer, Ellen. That's a good one. Now, in terms of the other piece, as far as, is a waiver just a piece of paper if you don't have insurance? It's not just a piece of paper. A waiver does protect you. The way I'd look at it, it's almost like a waiver is the mask and insurance is the vaccine. So a waiver will protect you from some things. But if I signed a waiver that released somebody of liability, but that person ended up being grossly negligent in something that they did, well, that waiver is going to be thrown out the window in a court of law. So it will stop a lot of lawsuits from happening, because their lawyer might look at it and say, well, you knew the risks, you knew the outcomes, you signed it, you did it. There's no lawsuit here. But if there's real gross negligence, if it's something beyond, or if the lawyer thinks that there's actual potential money to be made, they can work around the waiver. So insurance really becomes the most crucial component to it all, if that makes sense. All right. Oh, sorry, I see a new message here. Maybe we could ask on Podio to give us one-time waiver option for members, sign every time otherwise. Thinking out loud on the group. Gotcha. No, that's an interesting. So so that's what it is through on Podio, that waiver is signed one time, and that covers, and that's gotcha. Well, that might be that might be perfectly fine. I'm not probably the right have enough expertise in that realm to say one way or another. I'm being candid. Excellent. Hi, Sadie. I was just saying hi too. I know you were trying to say hi to Ellen. Well, in an effort to not bore people to death, that was really the bullet points that I was coming to talk about. But I really, if there's any other questions, or if there's anything that I haven't missed, that I haven't touched on that you think would be valuable, please let me know. And I'm an open book here. I'll throw in the chat my cell phone number and my email if you guys ever have a question, need me for any reason. And again, it doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, you can text that number and say, hey, I have a question. I might be sleeping, but I'll answer it when I wake up at 5 a.m.
So I have a question. It seemed like when I first posted about our partnership in our Facebook group, it seemed like there was actually quite a few of our instructors that were already insured with you, and their policies aren't set to renew until later. So at that time, can they just use our landing page and link to re-enroll at the discounted membership rate at that time? They just wait till they're expired? Or
Kate, do you have what's the best move with that? Kate used to manage our call center, so she's probably the better person to answer that?
Yeah, I think the best way to go about that actually is we just, our web dev team just actually implemented to be able to put in a code at checkout, and apply that code to the discount will apply once they check out. So they should just be able to, when they renew, put the Warrior code in there. And I will check that too myself before we do that. And I'll give you the okay to go, but they should just be able to go ahead and put that code right into the bottom of the checkout, and it will apply the Warrior discount to the renewal.
And the answer is, Ellen, regardless, if they go through your link upon renewal, that will work. But this just might be an easier solution.
Got you. Because they're already in your system.
Yeah, typically
Okay.
what would happen if they went through their link, it would create them a whole nother one, which we don't. They can do that way too, and we can merge them. But I think this is definitely, like Joe said, an easier solution. So I'll give you that 100% answer.
Do any of you guys have any more questions? No. I'm really happy to hear about the identity theft piece. I had no idea, and I heard not very long ago that that's like the #1 crime on the rise right now. I don't know if that's true, but and then also the like coverage on materials like laptops and broken mics and all that stuff. I didn't know any of that was included. I guess to conclude, so that we don't keep you guys forever, even though I'd like to, because I like hanging out with you guys. It's really important that we do have insurance and that we don't roll the dice. You guys know I'm super honest, like with certain things, I'm like, maybe that's too expensive. Maybe don't spend your money here. But this isn't something that we want to cut a corner on. If we're an employee at a gym and that is all we're doing and we're covered under their insurance policy, then you're fine. But if you're doing anything on your own, which is the direction, as we know that the fitness industry is going, and many of you, obviously, if you're fitnessing right now and you're on this webinar, you're obviously, you've adapted to pandemic times, which mean you're doing something on your own, either as an independent contractor or you're self-employed. So whether it's in a park or online, or as an independent contractor at a studio, it's something that you need, because it is a crazy world. So that's all. Thank you guys so very much for coming to hear about this. Joe and I have laughed about, like, it's not the sexiest topic, but you guys came for it. So thank you so much.
Of course. No, my pleasure. And please, if there's ever any questions, anything that comes up, again, we're an open book here, and we love to hear it, and any and all feedback, and really appreciate the time and really appreciate the partnership. I'm really excited to see where we go with this.
Likewise. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Thanks. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Caitlin.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.